Hello, I'm Joan McDermott. Welcome to Mastering Your Microwave. Many people become confused when they're using their microwave oven. Today I'm going to show you how to use your microwave successfully. We'll be going through and cooking quite a few different variety of foods. We'll be doing poultry, roast beef, fish, vegetables, foil and metal. Yes, we'll show you how to use them properly in your microwave. We'll even be doing a Weight Watchers special. We're going to make a sponge cake, show you how to use browning dishes, and then we're going to have a secret grand finale. Well, sit back and relax, because all the recipes that we'll be cooking today, all the ingredients, the handy hints, are all in the cookbook that you provided with step-by-step instructions. So let me do the work today. Let's start with our poultry. Poultry is very low in fat content. It won't brown naturally in your microwave, so you need to add the browning agent or to add a base to the poultry that you're going to cook. There's a selection of different base that you could use. You could use Parisian essence, you could use soy and tomato sauce. My favourite is a combination of 2/3 tomato sauce and 1/3 soy sauce. We could use some paprika, we could use some lemon and honey, or one of the many commercial browners on the market. Just to show you a technique on how to cook poultry in the microwave, we've got to make sure that it's nice and compact. If we were to put our bird in the oven the way that it is there, the ends of the legs and the tips of the wings would overcook. So we're just going to tuck the tips of the wings underneath, and we could put some foil over the ends of our drumsticks. What we're going to do today, though, is just to put an elastic band around the ends of the legs just to make it nice and compact. If we were cooking roast turkey, we probably would need just to mould our foil around the ends of the drumsticks there, just to make sure it doesn't overcook. We have it elevated. If we don't elevate, you'll find that the bird will sit in its own juices. Even though it isn't high in fat content, the natural juices will run out, and it'll sit in its own juices and become braised more than having a nice baked effect. Then just baste the chicken, put your baste on just with a pastry brush, and then pop it into the microwave. It's very easy to remember the cooking time. The number of the bird determines the time you cook for. So if we've got number 11 chicken here, we cook for 11 minutes on each side on full power or 100% of power. If you're not sure of the number of your chicken, it's simply 10 minutes per 500 grams for your chicken. Just to show you something a little bit different today, we're going to use a Glad oven bag. We've put our bird in an oven bag. We've just coated it with a packet of French onion soup, given it a good shake so the bird's nicely coated. We're going to pierce the bag, because if we don't pierce the bag, the steam will rise and the bag will burst. So pierce the bag a few times, then just twist the end and tuck it under. Don't use one of those little ties, because if you use one of those little ties, you're going to find that you'll get arcing, which is the blue sparks in the microwave. So we've just tucked that under. We've got it elevated once again. The second reason for elevating is because around the middle span of any microwave oven, you get the most concentration of microwave energy, so you're going to get more even cooking. Pop it into the microwave. We've got number 11 chicken there, so it's going to take 22 minutes, 11 minutes on each side. We're not going to turn our chicken in the bag because we've got a lot of moisture there. So what we're going to do is just program that in for 22 minutes on full power, and off we go. If we were cooking chicken fillets, we may need to use a browning dish, or small cuts of meat. Once again, they need to be basted or be cooked on a browning dish because once again they don't have that long cooking time and they're not high in fat content. We'll come back to browning dishes a little bit later. Let's have a look at cooking our roasts in the microwave. Now, our red meat is high in fat content and it will brown quite naturally for us, so we don't need to add any base. If we were doing smaller cuts, we have less cooking time and we would need to baste or once again cook on a browning dish. We've got a piece of beef here. We've got 1.5 kilos and the timing for beef is 10 minutes per 500 grams on the medium power setting. Or you can cook it on roast if you like a little bit more done. What we're going to do is with our piece of beef, the microwaves, the way they work, they're attracted, microwaves are only interested in two things, and that's moisture and metal. They're attracted by any moisture molecules that may be in the microwave and they're reflected from any metal. The microwaves penetrate into the food about 2 centimetres. They cause friction between the moisture molecules and that's what actually causes the heat. The food then, just the same as it does in the normal oven, cooks from the outside into the centre. So because it cooks from the outside to the centre, the outsides of whatever you put in the microwave are going to cook before the centre, which is why you have ring containers for cakes and meatloaves and those sort of things, or you have loaf containers. Also, we're going to make sure that we've elevated. You can see there we've got our rack in the bottom of our dish so that we don't have our meat sitting on or sitting in its own juices. If you're getting complaints about your meat, it's more than likely that you aren't having it elevated. If you have it elevated, the natural juices will run off, you'll get a much crisper piece of meat and you'll get a much nicer effect. We want to achieve a nice pink centre, so what we're doing is cooking it for 10 minutes per 500 grams on medium. Now, if you liked your meat cooked a little bit more, what we could do is bring up the power setting and cook it for 10 minutes per 500 grams on medium high. If you like it well done, you'll find that'll be quite nice for you. We've melted some butter and garlic and we're just going to baste our piece of meat just to give it some added flavour. It will brown naturally for us. We won't need to add a baste for colour, but this will add some flavour. If you want to add rosemary to your lamb or you want to add other spices to your meat, that's quite all right. But don't add salt to the food you're cooking. If you add salt, you'll find that what it does is it leaches or dries out all the top of your food or the outside of your food, and you'll get a very, very tough piece of meat or a piece of food that you're cooking. So if you like to use a lot of salt, leave the salt to a little bit later. So we've basted that quite generously with that butter and garlic. Now it's ready to cook. We can either stop splattering by using a little piece of Glad bake. Don't use paper towel because I've found that we're trying to make a lovely golden or roast effect and the paper towel quite often sticks and takes off the food or the colouring that you're using. So we can use either our Glad bake or we can use a splatter cover, and all that does is stop a mess happening inside of the microwave. The splatter cover has little holes and the holes let the air come through, so it's not as though we're covering that with plastic wrap. Now our piece of meat here that we have is 1.5 kilos, so we're going to cook that for 10 minutes per 500 grams on the medium power setting to get that lovely pink centre, and that's going to take us 30 minutes. So we'll pop that into the microwave and we're going to put it on the medium power setting for 30 minutes and start. So our meat's in the oven cooking. Let's have a look at some fish. We're going to do a baked snapper. We've put a seasoning inside of our fish. We've taken the eye out because the eye has a membrane on it, and if we cook it in the microwave, it'll burst. So we're just going to squeeze some lemon over our fish, put a little dill weed over for a nice flavour, and just to give it a little bit of browning, we're just going to add a little bit of paprika, just to give him a nice colour. Now, if we were to put our fish the way it is, like that, into the microwave, what would happen would be that the head, which doesn't have as much meat as the middle, and the tail, once again, doesn't have as much meat, those two ends would overcook. So what we're going to do is just mould some foil over the fish. So we're going to cover the head, just tuck the foil over the end there, the same with the tail, and that will stop the microwaves getting into the meat. We're then going to cover it with some microwave wrap. Now, the difference between microwave wrap and normal plastic wraps is that microwave wrap is much stronger. You'll find that it will tolerate much greater temperatures. Now, if you're worried about plastic wraps, which ones to use and which not to use in your microwave, Choice did a very good article on plastic wraps, and they found that the Glad microwave wrap was one of the better ones to use, so that might help you. So we're just going to place our fish then in our dish, and we're going to cook it in the microwave. Now, it's going to take us 5 minutes per 500 grams. So for the piece of fish that we've got here, it'll take us about 6 minutes. So we're going to pop that into the oven. And we're going to cook it on the full power again, and we're going to cook it for 6 minutes on full power. So let's see what else we're going to cook now. Now we're going to have a look at some vegetables, but before we do, let's just see what's in our microwaves. We've got our roast chicken in our oven bag. Now, if you didn't think you could get lovely crispy and brown roast chicken, have a look at our chicken here. See the colour, how lovely and crisp it is, and you'll be able to do that as well. So we're just going to put our chicken to the side, and then we'll check on our meat. We'll just take off our cover, and you can see our roast beef there. Now, I'm just going to cut through to the centre just to see if we have got a lovely pink centre. And you can see as well there's lots of juices there that have drained off, and had it been sitting in the juices, we'd have a braised piece of meat instead of a lovely baked piece of meat. Can you see there how lovely and pink it is inside? Now, you'll be able to get your meat done like that as well. Remember, we've cooked this to rare. If we wanted it cooked for medium, or we wanted to cook for well done, we'd just increase the power setting. Still keep the times the same. But that's lovely and pink on the inside. It's nicely cooked on the outside. So there's our roast beef. Now, what we could do as well, before I zip that away, is we could just take off some foil if we want to continue the cooking, or just to keep it warm till we've cooked our vegetables. Just take off our foil and just wrap our piece of meat in the foil. Now, that's what we call standing our food. We'll place it to one side. Now, that piece of meat should keep warm up to 3/4 of an hour. So by that time, we'd have the rest of our dinner ready and serve it out ready to eat. Now, let's just have a look at our fish. So we're going to remove the plastic wrap now, take off that extra foil that was protecting the ends of the fish, and we could just put a little bit of parsley if we wanted to over the eye, and there we have a lovely fish. Now, I will just show you to make sure that your fish is cooked. You could just scrape a little bit of the outside and have a look at the colour of the meat. Now, can you see that meat there is just flaking? It's nice and white, so that's perfectly well cooked. So you can see that you do get lovely moist fish in the microwave. You can cook lobsters in the microwave. If you want to undo oysters, just pop 6 oysters around the microwave, around the carousel, and if you put them in there for 30 seconds on full power, those oyster shells will just pop open for you too, so you don't need to get there trying to prise open your oyster shells. Now let's just move on to our vegetables. What we're going to do first of all is explain frozen vegetables. Now there are three different types of vegetables. You've got hard vegetables, and they're cooked for 10 to 12 minutes per 500 grams, depending on whether you like them well done or nice and soft. Then we've got soft vegetables. Your hard vegetables are things like potatoes, your parsnips, your swedes, your carrots, pumpkin, and there's a chart in the back of the book that does go through all the different vegetable types and tell you which category they fall under. You've got your soft vegetables, your squash, your peas, the mushrooms, the less dense type of vegetables, and they're cooked for 5 to 6 minutes per 500 grams, just depending on how you like them. Then you've got the dreaded bean. Beans seem to cause a lot of problems with most people, and I classify those as a medium vegetable, and they're 8 minutes per 500 grams. Once again, vegetables that fall under that category are listed in the back of your book as well. Now, under the medium vegetables, you also have frozen vegetables. All frozen vegetables, regardless of the type of vegetables, all fall under the medium style of vegetables, and they're cooked for 8 minutes per 500 grams. So today we've got carrots, we've got cauliflower, we've got corn, and we've got peas. Now they're all frozen, they will take exactly the same cooking time. This container is one from Mighty Chef, and it's an excellent container. It's got a divider rack in it, so it's ideal for cooking our vegetables. When you're cooking vegetables, make sure you don't have them in a really deep container, so you've got vegetables and then a lot of container with air on the top, because once again the air will toughen the food. So we're just going to place our lid on our vegetables. Now for the amount of vegetables we have there, that's going to take us 6 minutes on the high power setting. All the timings I've given you are high. So we're just going to place that in the microwave, 6 minutes on high or full power. So high once again, and we're going to put that in there for 6 minutes, and off we go. Now you're probably wondering what you do with moisture. Really, for most vegetables you just need a sprinkling of water. You don't need any extra water at all for your frozen vegetables, because you've got all that frozen water already in there, or that ice molecules in there. So we're not going to add any extra water for that. Next we're going to go to if we wanted a platter method of cooking. Now we have our hard vegetables around the outside, we have our medium vegetables, and broccoli does fall under the medium vegetables, and then we've got corn in the centre, which is our soft vegetables. Now you must weigh each type of vegetable, then add up the cooking time, and that's all the time you're going to require. We're just going to give that a sprinkling with some water. And that's all the water I'm going to need for those vegetables. We're going to cover that in plastic wrap. Whenever you cook covered in the normal oven, you cook covered in the microwave. So our vegetables we'd always cook covered in the normal oven or on top of the stove, and we're going to do exactly the same here. So we're just going to cover that. That's going to take us 6 minutes for the amount of vegetables that we have there. Pop it into the microwave, once again on full power. So we've got on high, 6 minutes, and start. So there we've got our platter method of vegetables. Now the last method of vegetables that we're going to show you is a freezer bag method. Now if you're ever having problems with, say, broccoli, which once again causes people a lot of problems, this is a good method to try. I really think this is a foolproof method. Now we've got a Glad bag, just a normal freezer bag, and we've placed some broccoli in there. We haven't worried about the way we've arranged it. We're simply going to form a vacuum, just a natural vacuum. And to do that, we're just going to pour some water in with our broccoli, and we've really poured quite a bit of water in there. Then we're going to pour it back out again. Now that's going to provide us with all the moisture we're going to need, and it's also going to provide us with, as you can see there, a natural vacuum. For the amount of broccoli that I've got here, remember it's 8 minutes per 500 grams. This is going to take me about 4 to 5 minutes. So remember, in the microwave, if you overdo things, you can turn peas to bullets in seconds. So by doing what we're doing here, we're going to cook it for the lesser amount of time. We'll cook it for 4 minutes, and if we need that extra time at the end, we'll test the food, and then we'll just add the extra time. So we're going to pop this in the microwave for 4 minutes on full power. So So 4 minutes on high or full power and off we go. And when the vegetables come out, you'll note that they're greener or they seem richer in colour than when they go in. We talked about salt before. You don't need to add extra salt because, as we said, 90% of the food's original nutritional value is retained when you cook it in the microwave, and you'll be able to see that when those vegetables come out. They'll look even brighter than when they go in. So let's see what we've got next. Before we go on to our next section, let's just see how our vegetables are going. There's our frozen vegetable. You can see how lovely the colour is there. We've got our platter vegetables, and remember, whenever you're taking plastic wrap or lids off containers, make sure you always take them off away from you, because even though microwaves don't heat up the plates, the food gets hot and all the steam can burn you. So there's our vegetables there, and you can see how lovely that's come out. We've got our vegetables cooked right from the outside right through to the inside. And let's have a look at our foolproof method of cooking our broccoli. We'll just put a dot of butter on the top, and you can see how lovely and green that broccoli is. It really does come out greener than when we put it in. So you can see vegetables cook perfectly in the microwave. If you never thought you could use foil or metal in your microwave, you're wrong. Foil and metal make microwave cooking much easier. There are lots of uses for foil and metal, and we're going to be going through some of the uses today. You can use your little aluminium trays, and we've got some Glad trays here. If you like to batch cook, we could make our lasagna, then reheat our frozen lasagna. You could make little quiches in the microwave in your little foil cases. If I'm making slices, I like to use a lamington tin in the microwave, and I'll go through and explain how you do it a little bit later. If you're doing a cheesecake, quite often you'll find the way the microwaves work again from the outside to the centre. You might get to the centre and find the outsides have completed their cooking time, and yet you've still got a wet centre or a moist centre. So what we can do, just cut some strips of aluminium foil and place them around the area that is cooked to shield the cooked areas, and then you've only got the microwave area or the centre being exposed to the microwave energy, and that way you can continue the cooking and make sure the outside doesn't get cooked anymore, and you've got a lovely cooked centre as well. Once again, we can use our pieces of foil to do our shielding on our chicken or on the leg of lamb if you've got parts there that aren't as wide. And what we're going to do today is use some strips of foil. So let's go and have a look at how we use foil in the microwave. When we use foil and metal in our microwave, we must make sure that we just follow two basic rules. We must always have more food than we have metal. When we're using our lamington tray, we've only got a very, very narrow height, and we've got a lot of food exposed there, slice or whatever we're cooking, so we've got more food than we've got metal. The other rule is must never ever have metal touching metal. So when our food goes around in the microwave, we must make sure that the sides of the metal container don't touch the oven walls, or they don't touch any other metal components. We're going to use our Mighty Chef Deluxe set. We've got our rack once again, because the majority of the cooking will occur across the middle of the microwave, so we're just elevating the food off the bottom of the microwave so we get a nice even cooking all the way through. And then we've just got the top, which is our combi set, and we're going to put a strip of aluminium foil, of our Glad foil, just around there, tuck it under so that it's not going to fly around and touch the oven walls. So now we have the foil on the side, so the cake can only cook from the bottom and from the top. So that way we're going to eliminate the need for that centrepiece. So there we are ready so far. What we're going to do is line the base of our container with some Glad bake. Now, if we don't line, I find that 3/4 of the time the cake will come out beautifully. The other 1/4 of the time, 3/4 of the cake will come out beautifully. So by using our bake, we're going to eliminate that problem. Now, just a quick and handy hint, nothing at all to do with microwave cooking. For years I've gone and looked for my I've got my container, I've got my baked paper to line the container, and I've had to hunt for a pen. What we're going to do, this is just a very, very handy hint. I'm just going to place the point of that. We've just placed our paper in 4 or folded in 4. We're just going to put the point in the centre of our container and just put our thumbnail around the edge there, and then we're just going to cut along where we've got our imprint from our thumbnail. And then we should have the perfect shape to line the base of our container. So there we've got our lining. Now we're going to mix together. What we've done so far is we've just used our fruit cake. We're going to plump, or we already have, plumped our ingredients. We've got some fruit in there, we've got some moisture in there, we've got water. You could put some pineapple pieces if you wanted to. We've got some butter, we've got some brown sugar. Then we've just popped that into the microwave for 7 minutes on full power. So now our fruit's all reconstituted. We're just going to add 4 eggs, some flour, and mix that in. Now make sure it is mixed in quite well, because otherwise you will get some lumps and bumps. One of the benefits of using a microwave is that you don't need to sift flour, you don't need to use your electric mixer. There's one exception to that rule, and we'll come to that a little bit later, but you don't have to mix the flour at all. In fact, if you're using your electric mixers when you're cooking cakes in the microwave, you're probably finding that they taste a couple of days old before you even start. So if you've got people that say a cake doesn't cook well in the microwave, I can assure you they're probably using their electric mixer or they're overcooking. So we've just mixed that together. Now what we're going to do is, the colour the cake is when it goes in the microwave is the colour it comes out. So we're going to need to add something to brown it. So we're going to use our Parisian essence. We could use some Hansel's gravy browner if we wanted to. And we're just going to stir that through. So really it's a benefit because you can pick the colour the cake's going to be before it goes into the microwave. Now once we've cooked our cake, we're simply going to bring it out of the oven, and we're just going to coat the top with a little bit of melted apricot jam, and then we're going to put some nuts and cherries just for decoration on the top. So just mix it until it's the colour that you want, remembering that's the colour it's going to be when it's cooked. So we're going to pop that into our lined container. There's no need to grease when you're cooking in the microwave. If you grease containers, you'll usually find that your cake mix will shrink. So there we are. We're just going to flatten that out. Just use your spatula. Then we're going to pop that in the microwave for 25 minutes on medium-low or the defrost power setting. Now we need that low power setting because we're cooking it for a little bit longer, because the microwaves only cook from the top and cook from the bottom. So we're going to go down our power setting until we come to our medium-low power setting, and we're going to cook that for 25 minutes, and we're going to start it. Once we've finished that 25 minutes, what we're going to do is bring our cake out, take that foil strip off, test the cake. Remember, you always have to test in a normal oven, you have to test in a microwave as well. If we don't have any moist spots, we won't give it any extra time. If we've got a moist area on the time, we'll just give it some extra time on high without that foil around the outside. So there's our fruit cake for us. There are lots of different ways that foil can help you, and we're going to do some pastry. Most people don't think that you can do pastry in the microwave. We've just lined the base of our container here with just some short crust pastry. We've lined the sides, just crinkled up the top, and we're going to blind bake that. And that's the secret to cooking pastry in the microwave. We've got our strip of foil once again. Now the problem that we would have is that the upside edges of our pastry will overcook before the bottom. So what we're going to do is just put a round of foil inside of our container, a little bit of Glad bake. Now all we're doing there, and I'll show you in just one moment, is we're going to weigh down the pastry so that it doesn't bubble up. And we've got some rice here, just uncooked rice, and we've put that in our container. So you can see what we've done there. We're going to cook that in the microwave the way it is there for 4 minutes on full power. So we're on high or full power once again, and we're going to give it 4 minutes, and then we're going to press start. So you can see our timing's nearly up. And when that's finished, we're going to bring it out. We're just going to take out the foil, take out, there we go. Right, we'll take out our rice. That glad bake in the bottom also helps to crispen up the bottom of the pastry. Remove our foil, then place that back in the microwave for another 2 minutes on full power. So once again on high, 2 minutes and off we go. There we go. Our pastry is finished, so we'll just take it out of the microwave, and you can see the lovely colour that it is there. If you want it a little bit darker in colour, all you need to do is add some mixed spice to your pastry when you're mixing it. You can also use that packet pre-rolled pastry if you wanted to. We're just going to add our filling. Spread it over so it's nice and even on the top. And then we're just going to add a little bit of chopped parsley. We're putting on some cheese. And just to give it that little bit of colour once again, we're going to give it some paprika. And we'll get a lovely quiche. Now that's going to take us 15 minutes on full power. Once again, make sure we cook it elevated, back into the microwave for 15 minutes. So high or full power once again, 10, 15 minutes and start. Now here's our fruit cake. We're just going to take the foil off, and we're just going to have a look at the top of our cake to see if it does need any extra time. And you can see there we don't have any moist spots. It has cooked evenly all the way through. And if we were to, let's just tip it up and have a look. See if it does come out nice and evenly. And there's our fruit cake. So really that would be, quite good even if you wanted to ice that and have it for a wedding cake. It's cooked beautifully all the way through. Make sure that you do let your cakes stand for about 10 minutes before you tip them out of the container. Now we've got our fruit cake already decorated. We've just melted a little bit of apricot jam, put it on the top, placed our pecan nuts and some cherries around the outside, made a nice pattern, then coated it again with some apricot jam just to seal it. So there you are, you've got Christmas all wrapped up. So there's our fruit cake. Let's have a look at our quiche. It's just about finished. Oh, there we are. So there's our quiche, and we could put whatever filling we really wanted in there. If you wanted a nice spinach quiche, could have added spinach instead of the seafood filling that we've added. And our pastry is quite crisp, so you see you can cook quiches and you can cook pastry in a microwave oven. Weight Watchers beware, microwave cooking's a chocolate maker's dream come true. We're just going to melt 375 grams of cooking chocolate or dark compound chocolate. We've got a little bit of Kofa in there, or Kremelta for our New Zealand viewers, and we're going to place that in the microwave for 2 minutes on full power. We've just placed it in a microwave safe jug because it does get very, very hot. So we're going to give that 2 minutes on full power. Now there are lots of things that you can do with chocolate making, and having a microwave makes chocolate making that much easier. Gone are the days when you use a double boiler and have to wait and stir and temper or put your thermometer in to test the temperature of your chocolate. All we do is pop it into the microwave. Now if you want to make a sponge cake or a nice chocolate cake and do a chocolate layer, there's no reason why you can't do that. If you've melted your chocolate, all you need to do, if you've got some nice leaves, and these are just off a camellia tree. All you need to do is paint the underside with a little bit of chocolate, put it in the freezer, let it freeze, then peel the leaf off just very, very gently, and you've got a lovely leaf there to decorate. But you do have to be gentle when you're doing it. If you wanted to do moulded chocolates, all you need to do is pour your chocolate over, scrape it off, give it a bang on the kitchen bench, and then into the freezer once again. So it is very, very easy to make your chocolates in the microwave. So are all the other confectionery as well. If you want to do toffees, if you want to do peanut brittle, if you want to do toffee apples, it makes life that much easier. Today what we're going to do is just make some Rocky Road, and we've just got some marshmallow here, and we've just got pink and white marshmallow and just chopped it in half. And we're going to place that in the base of our container, and we're just doing it in a foil tray just so that it's easy to come out. We've got some cherries, and we're going to add that so it's nice and even, and we're just going to put in some crushed nuts as well. When our chocolate comes out, it's important to give the chocolate a good stir, because you'll find that quite often it doesn't lose its form, and you'll look at it, think this chocolate isn't cooked, pop it back in the microwave and you'll overcook it, you'll burn it. So make sure you do give it a good stir. These little utensils that I've been using today are by MacPro. They're Micro King cooking utensils, and they're excellent because they can withstand microwave energy, they can withstand the high temperatures of chocolate, and if our chocolate isn't cooked properly, we can give it a stir, leave the spoon in there and pop it back in, so we haven't got the messy spoon laying on the bench. You can see there that it hasn't lost its form. You can still see the shape of the chocolate, and this is where we need to stir. So we'll give that a good stir until it's nice and smooth, and we certainly don't need any extra cooking time there. If you do need extra cooking time, only give it a 30-second burst at a time, and that's done on full power. But I'm sure you'll agree, there's our chocolate. It's lovely and smooth. It took no time at all, and we've mixed and we've cooked in the one container there. So we haven't got a lot of added washing up. So we're going to stir that through. And if you wanted to make your Rocky Road for someone a little bit special, you could have always put a little tiny bit of alcohol, maybe a bit of Grand Marnier or Tea Maria, in with the chocolate when you put it in the microwave. Now we're going to place that in the freezer, and that'll take about 5 minutes and it'll be ready to eat. We've made some Rocky Road, and there you are. You can see how lovely that is. And that I'd serve after any dinner party. It's really quite nice. So we'll put that to one side, and we're just going to get some coconut and toast our coconut. We've put the coconut in an oven bag. You can't do this in a freezer bag because it will melt the freezer bag. We're just going to twist the end of our coconut. We've got a cup of coconut in there, and that'll take us about 7 minutes on full power. Now we're going to toast this coconut so that we can use it a little bit later. Also, if you want to blanch or toast or brown nuts, you can do them in exactly the same way. Pop them in the oven bag and then pop them in the microwave, and that'll take 7 minutes on full power. And every now and again we're going to need to give it a good shake just so that it does coat or does brown nice and evenly. So we're going to give that 7 minutes, once again on high, and we're going to start our microwave. If a cake's cooked properly in the microwave oven, it tastes exactly the same as it does cooked in a normal oven. We've already pre-coated our container. We've just got a 1 litre Mighty Chef casserole dish here. It's about 7 inches in diameter. We've coated it heavily with some butter and with our coconut, and you can see the lovely colour that we've achieved there with our toasted coconut. So what we've done is just mix together a basic 3-egg sponge. So if you've got a favourite sponge mixture, you can use that, or you can use the one out of the booklet. We've heavily whipped that so it's lovely and fluffy. This is the one exception where you can use your electric mixer, because at the end of the cooking time or the end of the beating time, you really need that light fluffy mixture. We place that in our container, we're going to spread it around, and then we're going to have a look how it actually rises. So we'll just spread that out, pop it into the oven, and we're going to cook that for 3 minutes on full power, and that's all the time it's going to take to get a beautiful sponge. So back onto high again, 3 minutes, and off we go. So our cake's almost finished, our sponge. What we're going to do is decorate it like an opera house when it comes out. Let's have a look. We're just going to tip it out of our container. You will find that when you're cooking in plastic that you can flex the containers that you're actually cooking in. Now if you do have any moist areas on top of a cake, you can simply just pat them with some paper towel and you'll usually find that that moisture will lift straight off. Don't just automatically put it back in the microwave. Use a skewer and just test it. So let's see how our sponge has turned out. So there's our sponge. Now you can see by that it is beautiful and fluffy. What we're going to do is just take the top off there, cut it into 4 just like that, and then we're going to put up some cream and then we're just going to put our pieces back in again. A browning dish is a must for every microwave kitchen. Today we're using a selection of Corningware browning dishes. Browning dish, what it does is it makes it possible, it heats up, it's got a tin oxide base on the bottom. That tin oxide base absorbs the microwave, you put it in the microwave. If it has a lid, you put it in the microwave without the lid by itself for a preheating time. You do get a chart with a browning dish that tells you how long to preheat it for. In the microwave it goes. When it beeps, it comes out and it's sizzling hot. And a browning dish for serious microwave cooks makes it possible for you to achieve that lovely pan-fried effect. What we're going to do today, we've got our browning dish in here preheating. We're going to do a selection of different items. We're going to start today. We're going to have breakfast at the beginning of the day. We'll make our breakfast. Then we're going to do something for lunch and something for dinner. So just to show you how a browning dish can help you through the day. We've got a souffle omelette we're going to make. We've already beaten our egg whites. We're just going to add a little bit of milk, our yolks, and we've just got some herbs and spices in there. And we're going to mix that together, just fold it gently together. When our dish comes out, we're going to add a little bit of butter. Then we're going to put our souffle mixture into the microwave. And it's only going to take us, we've got the dish preheating for 4 minutes. Then we're going to add our mixture into the microwave and it's only going to take 1.5 minutes for a souffle omelette. So we'll just mix that in well together. It's all light and fluffy and well mixed in together. Once our browning dish has come out, when we've got our souffle omelette done, we're just going to mark our dish, put a filling, and we're just going to put some ham and some tomato on the dish, on the souffle, turn it over and straight onto a plate and it's ready. You'll find the standing time that you've got will be enough time for it to cook the tomato and to just warm the ham. Be careful when you're taking browning dishes out of the microwave. They do get very, very hot. And whenever you're using any glass products, you'll find you will need an oven mitt. Just a little bit of butter in there. And can you hear that sizzling? It does get very, very hot. We'll put our mixture in. Just smooth it over slightly, and that's going to take 1.5 minutes. So back into the microwave. On full power again, 1.5 minutes and start. And we can see our souffle omelette, how it's risen there. Now don't forget, once again, use your oven mitt. And look at that, isn't that beautiful? Now we're just going to put a filling on our mixture there. We're just going to use some tomato pieces, a little bit of ham. Then we're just going to fold it over. And you see the beautiful brown colour that we've achieved there. That's beautiful. And we'll just pop that. Get it out of the container and we'll just pop that on our plate. So there's breakfast in an instant. Now we're going to make some toasted sandwiches. We've just buttered our bread on one side, so we haven't buttered the other side. We've preheated our browning dish for 4 minutes on full power. Once again, we're just going to add a dot of butter. We're going to put our bread butter side down. Add our filling. We're just going to put some cheese and some ham. Our other piece of toast, butter side up, and the sandwich was already made. Now we're going to pop that in the microwave for 1 minute on one side, turn it over, and 1 minute on the other side. Let's have a look at our toasted sandwiches, and you can put whatever filling in there that you really wanted. There we go. So there's your beautiful pan-fried effect. Now we're going to make an Indian curry. We've preheated our browning dish for 8 minutes on full power. And this is where a browning dish really comes in handy. We're just going to add a little bit of butter again. It's sizzling hot. We've coated our meat with some flour by just putting the flour in the bag. We're just going to add our meat there to our dish, move it around so that we sear the meat. Then we're just going to add the rest of our ingredients. We've got some tomatoes there, in some chutney and water, some apples, some capsicum and some parsley. We've sautéed some onions with some garlic powder and a little bit of brown sugar. In that goes. And we're just going to give that a good mix around, and then we're going to pop that. We're going to cook it covered. If you were cooking a casserole in the normal oven or a curry, you'd cook it covered. We're going to cook this one covered as well. So we're just going to add our lid. We'll just get a lid. Going to pop it on the top in the microwave. Now we're going to cook it on a higher power setting first of all, just to get the cooking process started. So we're going to use 2 sequences on this microwave this time. We're going to cook it on medium-high for 4 minutes. Then we're going to lower the power setting down to medium-low for 18 minutes. Our curry's just about finished, and we'll pull it out and just see whether it has cooked completely. Remember to test the meat and to test the vegetables. If it's not cooked the way that you like it, keep it going, because on that lower power setting you can cook for longer, and you can cook until everything's lovely and tender and it's just the way that you like it. So you can see by that that's lovely and thick. The flour's thickened up the sauce we've got there, and it smells absolutely delicious. So there's our curry. Now when you're using a microwave, you'll find that those small cuts of meat, your sausages, your chops, chicken breasts, they'll all brown nicely on a browning dish and get that lovely gold coating. You will find that you can cook Chinese food. You can do stir-fried vegetables. You can do any Chinese food at all, including fried rice. You will find that when you use your browning dish, and if you're using, say, it for a sequence of cooking, like when you're doing a Chinese dish, that you'll find that it will get very, very dirty. So you can clean it with, we're using a Crown Corning cleansing conditioner here, which is an excellent product. It's available from most retail stores. Or if you don't have any cleansing conditioner, you can use some white vinegar, or you can use some liquid Jif, or maybe some gumption. Let's finish our day with a grand finale. What we're going to do is, we've got a selection of fruits here. We're just going to add a little bit of Grand Marnier, just to give it a nice taste. Some maple syrup for the flavour, and then we're just going to add some orange juice. Then what we're going to do is just put some brandy in a heat-proof dish. Make sure this one is a heat-proof dish. For about 1/3 of a cup of brandy, it's going to take you about 30 seconds to flambe. So we'll pop that into the microwave for 30 seconds. Once again on full power, 30 seconds, start, and we're off. Now when that comes out of the microwave, we're simply going to light it and then just pour it over our flambe. So we're just going to take our brandy out, we're going to light it. There we go. Now that'd be great for Christmas puddings. Just pour that over your Christmas pudding, or if you want to make a crepe Suzette. So there we go. We've got our flambe. As you've seen by the food we've cooked today, your microwave is very versatile. Please experiment using your microwave. Remember, you didn't learn to cook in a day in your normal oven either, so if you have a few problems, try again. There are many added advantages to microwave cooking. You save 90% of the food's original nutritional value, so food cooked in a microwave is much better for you. You save power, and 70% of the cooking time is saved as well. Look what we've cooked in no time at all. The key to successful microwave cooking is in using good quality products. So until next time, happy microwave cooking.